Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And for those of you that are new here, hey, my name is Tenna and welcome to my circus. Today's video, we're gonna go a little bit dark today. I'm gonna be doing an anti-Valentine's Day look. Why, you ask? Because on this channel we like the spook, we like the gore, and instead of me just like talking your ear off, we're gonna go through a Valentine's Day true crime story while I do a dark Valentine's Day look. This story is going to be about a doctor that decided to kill his wife on Valentine's Day. This is not going to be good for children, I want to say, because murder is gory, and I don't know if you want kids watching this, but if you want to sit down, do a crazy, fun anti-Valentine's Day look and talk about murder, then let's hang out. Otherwise, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and we will go ahead and hop right on into this tutorial story time. Alright, so to get this started, I'm going to start off with my makeup. I already have primer and all that good stuff on my face. My primer I used was the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. It is my favorite. It really helps the makeup stick to my face. What I'm going to do so that we can kind of stick to the script of the story is I'm going to go in with my foundation. Right now, my favorite foundation that I am using, it is by Giorgio Armani. It is the Luminous Silk Foundation. I am in shade 8.75. I'm going to be applying it with the Tati Blendiful, and I will be going in with my concealer with a beauty blender, because if you have not seen my last video, I don't really like how this blends out my concealer. So I will be going back to my tried and true beauty blender for that. Concealer I will be using is by Pretty Vulgar. It is in the shade the Middle Ground. It is their undercover concealer, so I will be using that. So let's go ahead and start off. The way the story starts, it started back in 2003, so this isn't a very, well, I guess, yeah, it is a long time ago. It's 2020 now, so about 17 years ago. It's so crazy to me how, you know, people say like 2002, 2003 and things like that, and it sounds like it was 5 years ago, and it's almost 20 years ago that this happened. The man that this is about Dr. John Hamilton. He was a OBGYN in the Oklahoma City area, and basically he was well known in his community as being an abortion doctor is basically what he did. You know, he got a lot of crap for it. He was kind of seen as like a villain within their community, you know, because there are a lot of people that have very strong opinions about abortions and things like that in general. Why do I feel like you guys are so far away? Sorry, I got the date wrong. It happened in 2001, not 2003. I don't know why I said 2003. But anyway, it happened in 2001, so basically 20 years ago is when this happened. And this involves him and his wife, Susan Hamilton. And they were married for 14 years. Everybody says that, you know, when they were together, you know, she seemed like she was the love of his life. They're the perfect couple, all of these different things. They never saw any signs of trouble at home, nothing along that nature. They were the perfect couple. And he would always talk about how he had found the love of his life and that he can't believe he found somebody so perfect and all of that fun stuff. On paper and to the entire community, they were the perfect couple. So through this marriage, they had a very expensive marriage. Everything was very lavish, very luxe. I believe it stated on their wedding day he bought her a brand new Porsche, and into their marriage it was very common for them to go on really expensive vacations and have expensive things, and homegirl was living the life. And after they got married, she also started working for him as the office assistant to his medical practice. So you know, she would get a lot of the phone calls where there were a lot of death threats and things of that nature to him, and she would receive death threats as well, just kind of one of those guilty by association type things. So the reason why this is important is because it kind of plays into how the whole murder case plays out. So basically, to recap a little bit, we've got a gentleman here that is an OBGYN obstetrician that's known in his community as being, you know, an abortion doctor, and they are in a more conservative area where people don't really like that. So he's kind of seen as the devil in his community, to where, you know, you would see his name on like wanted posters around the community and different things like that. So he is not a very well liked man. So anyway, we fast forward 14 years later. They've been married for 14 years at this point, and it's Valentine's Day, and he orders her a bouquet of red orchids is what he gives her. Going in and setting my under eyes with the Velour Mercier translucent setting powder, and then I will be going in with the Jaclyn Hill, it's like the little translucent luminous face setting powder to add a little bit of glow into our face here. Back to the story. He had purchased his wife a very expensive bouquet of red orchids, right? He never was able to get her those. He was not able to actually pick them up from the florist. He came home that morning in between surgeries because he needed to pick up a date book of some sort. And he walks into his house and he's horrified to find his wife laying on the floor in a pool of her own blood, and she had been strangled with 2 of his neckties, and her head had been smashed in so badly that her face was completely unrecognizable, and contents of her brain were scattered outside of her skull. Yes, it gets a little bit gory, but the type of scene that he claims that he has walked into at this point. He calls 911 and he starts performing CPR on her. And when the first responders show up, they find him hysterical, covered in his wife's blood. And then he basically told them that he had been frantically trying to save her life at this point, giving her CPR, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go in and do my brows really quick. I'm going in with the, well, it's now KVD, not Kat Von D Beauty anymore, but it is the 24-Hour Super Brow in the shade Dark Brown. When the police show up, he tries to give them an account of basically where he was that morning, and tries to give them the whole rundown of him having surgery at 7 o'clock in the morning. He was really busy. He got called into another surgery right away afterwards and was unable to come home and get his date book, all that kind of stuff. And gives them a story to where he could not possibly have been around when any of this happened. It gave the police a story covering his tracks. Sorry, I had to speed through and do my eyebrows because it's really hard for me to like talk and do my eyebrows at the same time. But so we can continue. I'm going to go in and bronze my face with a Hula Caramel Bronzer. So at this point, police are not suspecting the husband of, you know, being responsible for this because he claims that he has, you know, been in surgery. There's no way that he could have been around, and that he found her when he was coming home in between surgeries. So at this point, the police are starting to wonder who might have done this. So this is where we start going back to him, you know, kind of being this bad guy in the community, of being this abortion doctor that people are not fond of. So people are wondering, did somebody else do this? Because he's so hated in the community. Was there somebody else that came in and did this to her to get revenge? You know, is there anybody that he gave an abortion to that, you know, somebody didn't know about, and, you know, they did, once again, did this as like a revenge thing? Trying to lay out all the possibilities. At this point, it really could be anybody. Alright, I'm going to go in and do the eyes right now. I'm going to use a mix of the Conspiracy palette by Jeffree Star, as well as the Tati Beauty palette as well. I'm going to be going in and doing a red and black smoky eye. So basically I'm going to be taking the shade Flaming Hot here, the red, putting that all over the lid, and then I will be taking the sequin black shadow out of the Tati Beauty palette, which is here. It is this shade right here, and I will be putting that all over the lid and smoking it out. So it'll be like a cool, like, intense red moment. So let's go ahead and pop into that. So this is where the story starts to get a little bit suspicious, and the police now start looking at the husband. One clue that was left behind was a Valentine's Day card that his wife had left for him. And the doctor, Mr. Hamilton, had not seen this card yet, but the police had found it. What tipped them off that something may be wrong was the note written inside of the card by his wife. And I will have to pull this up because verbatim, I don't want to get this wrong. The inside of this card said was, "I bought my cards 2 weeks ago, so I guess maybe they don't seem as appropriate now, but I do love you. Have a good day, Susan." So things were not as perfect as people thought they were. . 'Cause 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 'C After the police found this note, they started to question the Hamiltons probably are not as happy as everybody thought that they were. And then looking at the crime scene, there was obviously no signs of forced entry, anything like that. There were no signs that there was somebody that broke into the home and could have done this to Susan. So they start getting suspicious and they start looking back at Mr. Hamilton. I'm going to take a little bit of the shade Not a Fact out of the Conspiracy palette, which is this deep purple. Here, I'm going to just lightly start to mix that in with the red in between here. That way it's a little bit of an easier transition to lay that black down. Before they really started looking at the doctor, they were definitely looking at how his job could have affected this in general. The doctor had been targeted by an anti-abortion militant group. They were already sending him and his wife death threats. They were sending them wanted posters wanting for the execution of this abortion doctor. And they were taking them very, very seriously, and they were both receiving death threat phone calls from this group the same week that his wife was murdered. I'm going to go in with the sequin black now. So kind of added to all of this craziness is that friends and neighbors started coming forward to the police, basically telling the police that, you know, they weren't as happy as everybody thought that they were. They were in fact having some serious marital issues. And they saw signs of it weeks before she had been murdered. What happened here is that he had been caught being a hoe, and he was exchanging messages and phone calls with some type of local stripper. They keep calling her topless dancer or whatever. She was a sex worker, basically. So his wife found evidence of the messages and things that he had with this stripper or sex worker or whatever she was, and obviously got very upset. And because of this, she was looking to file for divorce. He had done the ultimate no-no that you do in a marriage, which was he was unfaithful. What happened is, even though he thought that his wife was like this perfect person, he still screwed up, and the thought of her leaving him like made him crazy. He couldn't stand the idea of this beautiful, perfect woman that he had in his mind was going to leave him. I'm going to go in with a clean brush and blend together the black with the red, get rid of some of this harshness in here. And it's a clean brush. I have no product on there because I don't want to spread the black around more than it needs to. This is very, very pigmented on its own. Alright, so we're looking all smoky. I'm going to go in under the lash line. I'm going to tight line with black eyeliner. I'm going to go in with the Kat Von D Cake Pencil in Trooper Black. And I'm going to tight line my bottom lash line. I'm going to take a little bit of black, smoke it out, and then bring more red. So we're going to have this crazy like vampire look going on. After finding out about the possible divorce and all those different things that were happening, you know, they thought that this was probably enough reason for the doctor to snap. Police officers find out the tea about Mr. Hamilton having this sleazy affair with this stripper. They confront him about it, and he denies that he ever had an affair with the stripper. He just says that she was somebody that he would talk to when he needed attention. And he basically said that he was not the type to kill his wife, and he absolutely did not fly off the handle. He just swears he didn't do it. This is where it like turns into such like bullshit. Like, this makes no sense to me. He was starting to clean up the crime scene, got a page from his clinic that his next patient was getting ready to go under anesthesia. So he leaves, goes to do the surgery, and then comes back to finish cleaning up the crime scene, which I think is absolutely insane. If you didn't kill your wife, like, I don't know what kind of person that would come home and find their spouse dead on the floor wouldn't call in sick for the rest of the day of work. It makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. Who does that? Not a normal person. Nobody that's sane, not that I know of. He backed it up with physical evidence, stating that Susan's blood and skin were found on the steering wheel of his car. but a persecution expert came forward and said that his shoes that he was wearing were splattered with blood in a way that could have only been done while his wife was still alive. There's no way that it could have been done as like a cleanup effort. Like this was like blood splatter. You know how like they have people in training, like they're trained on what causes a specific type of blood splatter type of pattern in a murder scene. He came forward, told the defense that he loved his wife. The blood got on his steering wheel because he went outside to move his car for emergency responders to have space to come in. So the defense team came forward stating that there was no murder weapon that was ever found, and they were too quick to turn the whole thing around and look at Mr. Hamilton instead of the anti-abortion activist that had been sending them death threats the weeks prior to this happening. The defense also hired a respected crime scene investigator. His name was Tom Bevel. He came in and his specialty was blood splatter. So what he did was he came in, showed the whole jury, everybody in there, that the blood splatter on his shoes was consistent with somebody trying to save a life. So he was able to clear the fact that the blood splatter on the husband's shoes was in fact consistent with him trying to save his wife's life. Even though that piece was a letdown and basically cleared him in that sense, the crime scene investigator basically came forward and said that they missed a piece, that there was some blood splatter on his sleeve that they had missed. I'm gonna go into this palette again. I'm gonna go in the black row. I'm gonna do the sparkly glitter and we're gonna put that all over the lid. So Bevel had found additional blood splatter on Mr. Hamilton's shirt that was overlooked in the entire investigation process. So even though they had cleared him in the sense of the shoes, right, they were able to find other blood splatter that was consistent with an attack. The blood splatter that was on his sleeve was very much consistent, and he basically stated it as being a neon sign that whoever was wearing that shirt was the person that beat Mrs. Hamilton. And ding 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 happens to be Mr. Hamilton's shirt that he was wearing when he quote unquote tried to give her CPR and resuscitate her. I just love this crime scene stuff. Isn't that crazy how you can just like figure out based on blood splatter like how somebody died or like who did it? Like that's insane to me that you can just like study blood splatter. He is asked to go under oath, and he goes in and has to tell them that he believes that the blood splatter on the sleeve was consistent with the fact that Mr. Hamilton did in fact beat his wife with a blunt force object. You could have heard a pin drop in that courtroom because they had overlooked such a massive piece to this investigation. Mind you, in this entire situation, the crime scene investigator that they hired on to look at this blood splatter was supposed to be on the doctor's side. This was not somebody that was hired by any of like the defense attorneys or anything like that to help them solve the case. He was hired to defend Mr. Hamilton that the blood splatter on his shoes was consistent with him saving his wife's life, not that he murdered her. However, he was able to uncover evidence that they missed at the crime scene, which is crazy. So he totally turns his back on the person that he is there that hired him. The person that hired him, he turns his back on this person that hired him to clear him of this, finds the smoking gun showing that Mr. Hamilton did in fact kill his wife, which is why it was so silent in the room. Next, we're gonna go in with a little bit of highlighter, brighten up this face a little bit. Oh yeah. To tie up this story and this look, I'm gonna be finishing up with a black lip. I'm gonna go in with the Jeffree Star Cosmetics liquid lip in the shade Weirdo, which is straight black. And I'm gonna go over it with his gloss, which is in the shade Midnight Lick, which is a black gloss. So we're gonna have a black glossy lip. The way this whole thing ends is based off of this guy that they hired to back him up, that turns his back on him at the end of this trial, goes under oath, states what he had to say, and it took the jury less than 2 hours to deliberate and come up with a guilty verdict for Mr. Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton was then sentenced to life in prison. Alright you guys, and that is it on the Anti-Valentine's Day look. We went for dark with a little bit of red still to give it that Valentine's Day glare, as well as went over a Valentine's Day true crime murder story. So I've been contemplating doing things like this for a really long time, so if you guys enjoyed this and want to see me do more makeup looks with more murder, more true crime, more things like that, let me know. I can definitely make it a series because I do enjoy doing those kinds of things. I am a total true crime junkie, and if I can take the two things I love, true crime and makeup, and put them together, that would make my life so much more fun. So let me know if this is entertaining for you. I can definitely continue doing it because in the circus we like dark things. It's Halloween 24/7, 365, so why not make it the true crime headquarters on top of Halloween? Just all things spook. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. You know, everything's on trend. We even got Marilyn Manson on the shirt. Yes, we do. So anyway, yeah guys, that is it. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have an awesome Valentine's Day and it's full of love. And if you don't have love, then love yourself. Nobody's gonna love you more than you are going to love yourself. And if you don't love yourself that much, then you need to work on it, because all of you are beautiful in your own way. Even if you don't think you are, everybody is beautiful in their own way, and you just have to believe it. Nobody's gonna take care of you more than yourself. No man, no woman, no whatever you want to date is going to love you and take care of you more than you can for yourself. So on that note, take care of yourselves, love yourselves, and know when you're getting married to a psychopath so you don't end up murdered on Valentine's Day, because that is a gruesome, really lonely way to go out. Ugh. Anyways, bye guys.